Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about my must-draft early-round running backs for fantasy football in 2021. Inside today's video, I'm going to be talking about 4 running backs, one from each of the first 4 rounds, meaning I'm going to be talking about a running back from round 1, round 2, round 3, and round 4 that I believe are must-draft early-round running backs for fantasy football in 2021. But before we get on into the breakdown of these running backs, I would like to ask, if you are new to the YouTube channel, to please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. Not only is it free, me and the guys at the Awesemo Fantasy Football YouTube channel put out content every single day that you guys are not going to want to miss out on to help you guys win your 2021 Fantasy Football Championship. So without further ado, let's get on into it. We begin in round 1. Current ADP running backs going inside the first round are Christian McCaffrey, Dalvin Cook, Derrick Henry, Alvin Kamara, Ezekiel Elliott, Aaron Jones, Saquon Barkley, and Austin Eckler. And my must-draft early round running back from that range is running back number 4 off the board. Overall pick 4 off the board, Alvin Kamara of the New Orleans Saints. In 15 games last year, Alvin Kamara finished as the RB1 in PPR and half PPR, and he was the running back number 2 in standard, averaging 25.2 PPR points per game, 22.6 half PPR points per game, and 21 standard points per game. Meaning, from a points per game perspective, Kamara was the running back 2 in PPR, 3.5 PPR, and the RB number 4 in standard. The reason why I like Alvin Kamara so much in fantasy football this year is because I believe he could easily finish as the number 1 overall running back in fantasy football, and he's currently coming off the board as the running back number 4. That is the kind of discount that you love to see in fantasy football. While I like Derrick Henry, who is being drafted currently ahead of him in PPR leagues especially, I just think Alvin Kamara has so much more upside, because if you look at past trends with the New Orleans Saints, with Michael Thomas and with Alvin Kamara, when Michael Thomas is not there, Alvin Kamara is a reception machine. You want to know why? Because outside of Michael Thomas, this is not a team that is ultra deep at the wide receiver position. The wide receivers that are going to be playing without Michael Thomas are not the best. So the quarterback position will obviously have to give the ball to the best pass catcher on the team, and that is Alvin Kamara, and Sean Payton knows that, so he's going to make sure that Alvin Kamara is going to be running the routes to be able to get open. Now, the biggest downside, and this is a humongous downside with Alvin Kamara, is the quarterback situation. Now, I'm not talking about Jameis Winston, because I am 100% confident that if Jameis Winston is the starter, which I believe he will be, that Alvin Kamara will be just fine. While Jameis Winston, as a quarterback as a whole in his career, has not been one who notoriously dumps the ball off to the running back like a guy like Drew Brees has done throughout his career. But that is such a step up from what we will see with Taysom Hill. If Taysom Hill becomes the starting quarterback of this team, I will run clear away from Alvin Kamara. And it has nothing to do with Alvin Kamara. It has to do completely with the fact that Taysom Hill would rather call his own number on the goal line over handing the ball to Alvin Kamara. He would rather run the ball himself instead of dumping the ball off to Alvin Kamara, making that safe play, because that's just the guy that Taysom Hill is. Now, I understand Taysom Hill is probably going to be playing in every single fucking game this season. He will be taking opportunities away from Alvin Kamara, whether he is the starting quarterback or not. But if he was the starting quarterback, the upside of Alvin Kamara is strangleholded by Taysom Hill, because last year, if you guys remember, when Drew Brees was hurt and Taysom Hill was the guy, Alvin Kamara took a humongous dip in production. But obviously, when Brees was healthy, he was perfectly fine. So I believe if Jameis Winston is the guy, this guy, Alvin Kamara, can easily be the number 1 running back in fantasy football. Last year, Alvin Kamara had a grand total of just 187 carries, ranking 15th at running back. Only 187 carries in 15 games. That's just 12.5 times per game. That is very, very low for a running back that you're looking to draft inside of the top 10 or even the top 3 of your draft. But the reason why Alvin Kamara is so good is because he's also efficient with the touches he gets. With those 187 carries, he turned that into 937 rushing yards, 13th at running back. But the most glaring thing with Alvin Kamara is the target number. 107 targets, 7.1 per game on the season last year. Number 2 at running back. 83 receptions, 5.6 per game. Number 1 at running back. 5.5 per game, I should say. 656 receiving yards, 50.4 per game. number 1 at running back, 21 total touchdowns, number 1 at running back. Now, I know Christian McCaffrey wasn't healthy last year, so that obviously made it a lot easier for Alvin Kamara to be the guy, because when Christian McCaffrey is healthy, there is a reason why he is an insta-lock to be the number 1 overall pick in fantasy drafts, because of the fact that this guy could easily average 30-plus PPR points per game, and it would not surprise you at all. But with Alvin Kamara, he's one of the only running backs that I believe could surpass Christian McCaffrey, and it is because of the immense workload he gets in the receiving game. He also gets an immense amount of red zone touches, 57 red zone touches, 3.8 per game, ranking 4th at the running back position. And overall, besides obviously the Taysom Hill kind of argument, Alvin Kamara is a very, very safe running back, hasn't missed too many games in his career, and doesn't have a long laundry list of a medical history report. In 2019, he had an MCL sprain, and in that same season, he also had a high ankle sprain, but that's really how long the injury list is. He is not an injury-prone player, which is something you're looking at in the first round. Inside the first round of your draft, inside of the early rounds of your draft, you are trying to take as little risk as possible. I will continue to hammer this home. After the 4th round, you can go ahead and do all types of crazy shit inside the draft, and I won't judge you, but when you draft those first 4 rounds, it's hard to win your league in the first couple of rounds in the draft, but it is very easy to lose your draft by chasing injuries and risking it by reaching down in average draft position. So make sure to keep it safe in the first early rounds of your draft. Inside the 2nd round, the running backs going in that range are 9-inch Nicholas Chubb, Antonio Gibson, Jonathan Taylor, Joe Mixon, Najee Harris, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire. But before we get into the round 2 breakdown of my must-draft running back from that range, I would like to let you guys know that today's show is being brought to you by our brand new podcast, Betting You. That comes out every single Wednesday and is hosted by Matt Gajowski and Ben Rosser, where they talk all things college football betting. We have episodes available now on nearly every single podcast platform, including Spotify and Apple Music, so please make sure that you guys go ahead and check them out today. So back into it, round 2 running backs again are Nick Chubb. We got Antonio Gibson, Jonathan Taylor, Joe Mixon, Najee Harris, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire. My must-draft running back in this range is running back of the Indianapolis Colts. Overall ADP 16.9, running back 11 off the board. Now, a couple of weeks ago, even last week, I was talking about how I am very nervous about Jonathan Taylor. And not because of the player Jonathan Taylor is. He is one of the more talented running backs in the NFL, but because of the situation he was in with Carson Wentz's unknown injury timetable and with Quentin Nelson's unknown injury timetable. Right now, based upon what we know, it appears that Carson Wentz and Quentin Nelson should be good to go early on in the season. Does that mean game 1? No, it doesn't necessarily mean game 1. Could they play game 1? 100%. But if they don't play game 1, if they return by like week 3 or 4, that is very, very good. Because originally, in my head, I'm thinking maybe Jonathan Taylor is just fucked over by the fact that the line isn't good and that the quarterback play isn't good for like 8 weeks of the season. That was entirely possible when we heard the injury timetable for both Carson Wentz and Quentin Nelson. So there was a very good reason to be nervous, but based upon what we know right now, I think the hate has gone too far towards Jonathan Taylor, and he is falling way too far in drafts right now. Again, in fantasy football, you don't want to be chasing risks. But the reason why I don't believe Jonathan Taylor is too much of a risk is because all word out of training camp is that the offensive line is still fine without Quentin Nelson. They have one of the best offensive lines in the league, so it should not have too much impact. And that Eason as well as Sam Ehlinger both look solid. Now again, it's nowhere near the offensive line would be with Quentin Nelson, and it's nowhere near what the quarterback position will be with Carson Wentz. But it could be a whole lot worse, so I'm still confident drafting Jonathan Taylor inside the 2nd round, and where he's falling right now, he is my must-draft candidate inside of the 2nd round. In 15 games, Jonathan Taylor finished as the running back 6 in PPR, 6.5 PPR, and the RB number 4 in standard, averaging 16.9 PPR points per game, 15.7 half PPR points per game, and 14.5 standard points per game, meaning from a points per game perspective, Jonathan Taylor was the RB 9 in PPR, 9.5 PPR, and the running back number 7 in standard last year, having a grand total of 232 carries, 15.5 per game, ranking 8th at the running back position, 1,169 rushing yards. Very nice, 77.9 per game, ranking 3rd at running back with 41 targets, 2.7 per game, ranking 29th at running back with 36 receptions, 19th at running back, 299 receiving yards, 18th at running back, and 12 total touchdowns 4th highest at running back. The reason why Jonathan Taylor will probably never be a player that gets 60 plus targets on the season, it's not because he can't handle it, but it's because they have Nyheim Hines there. And whether you like it or not, Nyheim Hines is good enough to be valuable as the potential 3rd down back, as a guy in on these pass catching downs to get enough work that spells Jonathan Taylor away from a whole lot of receptions. Now again, does that make Jonathan Taylor bad? Of course not, because Jonathan Taylor was still a top 6 running back in all formats last year without some crazy receiving upside in Indianapolis. Marlon Mack is now back. That kind of sucks, right? In the scheme of things, it does kind of suck because he could have obviously been gone this season and things would have been a whole lot better because Jonathan Taylor didn't really get a stranglehold of that role until Marlon Mack got hurt. And I, along with a lot of other fantasy analysts, thought, hey, maybe it's going to take a couple of weeks for Jonathan Taylor to take over for Marlon Mack because Marlon Mack wasn't really a pushover of a running back. He's still a pretty solid running back. So we thought it was going to really take some time, but in reality, he ends up getting hurt in the first game of the season, and Jonathan Taylor took over. So I don't expect Marlon Mack to make Jonathan Taylor irrelevant or something, but he will be involved in this offense. But overall, as running back 11 off the board with top 5 ceiling, you have to take the slight gamble on the fact that Carson Wentz and Quentin Nelson are going to be missing sometime in the season. Next up, we got round 3 of average draft position, but this time we have just 2 running backs in this range. The first 2 rounds of the draft are just dominated by the running back position, and then after you get past the first 2 rounds, then the door opens a lot wider for a lot of wide receivers to come off the board. Same thing goes in the 4th round, and then normally in the 5th round, the 6th round, that's when you see people start trying to hop back on the running back train, but obviously running backs go in every single round because of how people draft. So round 3, running backs available are J.K. Dobbins and DeAndre Swift. But before we get on into my must-draft running back from that round, I'd like to let you guys know that we have a brand new channel for sports betting called the Awesemo Odds channel. You can find it on the link down below in the description. So go ahead, go down there, hit that subscribe button, turn the notification bell on, and see what we have in store on the Awesemo Odds channel. The videos on there are great, so I suggest going ahead and checking that out. Back on into it. Round 3 ADP, Dobbins and Swift. My pick is going to be J.K. Dobbins, running back of the Baltimore Ravens. In 15 games, Dobbins finishes the RB 24 in PPR, 21 in half PPR, and the RB number 17 in standard, averaging 11.2 PPR points per game, 10.6 half PPR points per game, and 10 standard points per game. Meaning, from a points per game perspective, he was the running back 33 in PPR, 30 in half PPR, and the RB number 28 in standard, tied with James Conner. So last year, J.K. Dobbins didn't have the greatest of rookie seasons out of the Ohio State University. The reason behind this is because at the beginning of the year, he was stuck in a fucking triple-headed dragon backfield is how I would describe it. Because Mark Ingram, Mr. Big Trust, woo-woo, who was pretty solid in 2019, deserved the role, deservingly, as the veteran early on in the season. But then, Harbaugh realized that, you know what, maybe Mark Ingram isn't the best, and then they started just basically cutting his workload, and I believe at points in the season, I could be wrong, that they just healthy scratched him and he just was not playing at all. So Dobbins got elevated in that sense, and Gus Edwards was still there as well, but Dobbins was looked at as the main back. But early on in the season, Gus Edwards as well as Mark Ingram were ahead of J.K. Dobbins. But eventually, down the stretch of the season, J.K. Dobbins became that guy, and he was not looking back on what happened early on in the season. This guy was all fucking steam ahead like a train. He had 134 carries on the season for 805 rushing yards, 16th at running back. He had the 33rd highest carries and turned that into 805 rushing yards, which should not be surprising at all because of how efficient the running system is here in Baltimore for the Ravens. 24 targets, 18 receptions, 120 receiving yards, and 9 total touchdowns, 16th at running back. The target share I expect to increase drastically this season. Now, it may not go up to like 60 or something, but 24 seems very low for a running back who in the college level was very talented at catching the ball. Now, Lamar Jackson is not someone who's necessarily going to look to dump off the ball a zillion times, so that's why I don't say that he's going to get 20 or 60 targets or something pretty high up there, but I wouldn't be surprised if he was around the 40 to 45 target mark this season, which could have him finishing as a potential top 12 running back in fantasy football. The reason why I like J.K. Dobbins so much is for the reason that I brought up just before. This is a team that loves to run the fucking football. I understand that Lamar Jackson is going to steal some touchdowns from J.K. Dobbins. I understand that. And that he's going to steal some yards from J.K. Dobbins. I understand that. But this team is just so proficient, so elite at running the football that a running back like Mark Ingram, who was in the latter years of his career in 2019, was unstoppable. He was unstoppable in fantasy football, and he wasn't even that good. So just think about how good Dobbins can be in the same system, with a good offensive line, with a strong defense, with a run-heavy system in Baltimore. The sky is the limit for J.K. Dobbins. I genuinely believe he could easily finish as a top 12 running back in fantasy football this season, and it wouldn't surprise me at all, if I'm being completely honest with you. I do think Gus Edwards is going to be involved, which does kind of suck for Dobbins, but he should still be fine even with Gus Edwards getting some of the workload. Now into the final round of the draft, round number 4, with David Montgomery, Chris Carson, and Darrell Henderson. And my must-draft running back of that range is going to be Chris Carson, running back of the Seattle Seahawks. ADP running back 18 off the board, overall pick 39.6. Now, if you guys have been watching the videos for a while on here, you would probably know that me and Lofty on this channel are so high on Chris Carson. It's like we're fucking Snoop Dogg on a Tuesday, I guess would be the reference to use there. The reason why I like Chris Carson so much is because while they have Russell Wilson, while they have DK Metcalf, while they have Tyler Lockett, and this should be a pass-heavy system, right? You have a generational talent in Russell Wilson. You have these elite wide receivers, but Pete Carroll continues to talk about running the football. And I know, it might be unbelievable that you might think, Nick, why would he do that? Why would he do that? We saw last year when he gave Russ the keys to this offense, he was cooking it up like Gordon Ramsay in the pocket, dissecting these defenses left and right. He was doing so good. Why are they going to establish the run? Because that's what Pete Carroll does. It is in his DNA. I wouldn't be surprised if it says run the football as a tattoo on his tramp stamp or something. Like he has a stamp that says run the fucking football or something. The only time this man doesn't run the football is in crucial situations inside of the Super Bowl. Otherwise, I think he's learned from his mistake. That's why he just runs the ball so often now, because he he thinks back and he's like, fuck, I should have ran the ball with Marshawn. Now he's like, I need to run the football. I don't know why he does it, because Chris Carson is not some elite running back in the NFL, but he is given the chances, the workload of a workhorse running back. So whether or not you think Chris Carson is an elite running back, which I don't even think he's one of the best running backs in the NFL, but inside of the 4th round, you are getting a running back on a very run-heavy team as running back number 18 off the board. In 12 games, running back 19 in PPR last year, 17.5 PPR, and the RB 16 in standard, averaging 15.6 PPR points per game, 14.4 half PPR points per game, and 12.6 standard points per game. Meaning, on a points per game perspective, he was ranked as the running back 14 in PPR, 14 half PPR, and the running back 13 in standard. Now again, if you look at the points per game basis, he was a top 15 running back, top 14 running back in all formats. In all formats when he was healthy. Now, there's definitely an argument, oh, but Nick, Chris Carson's injury prone. Sure, maybe he misses a couple of games. That's baked into his price. He's running back 18 off the board. So you're getting running back 18 that might have some slight injury concerns. But his backup running back, Rashad Penny, that dude's made of fucking glass. Now, I hope he's able to stay healthy because of all the promise that guy shows. But when has he been healthy? He's never able to stay healthy. He has never been the true backup to Chris Carson that people believe. Chris Carson is a clear workhorse on this team with a lot of receiving upside, which is something that not a lot of people point to. Last year, he had 46 targets, which again isn't some absurd number, but is still pretty high when he only ended up playing in 12 games on the season. 21st at running back, 37 receptions, 18th at running back, also having 287 receiving yards, with 141 carries for 681 rushing yards and 9 total touchdowns. Now again, Chris Carson is not going to be some elite, efficient running back in the NFL. He's not that guy. But what he is a running back given a lot of opportunity that is talented enough. Now I'm not saying he's garbage when I say he's not elite. He's not just not an elite runner, but he is still a solid enough back to, when he is given the work, which he will be, to be effective in the NFL, it is going to work out very well. So I expect Chris Carson to have another season where people at the end of the year, if this guy plays all 16 games, people are going to be so pissed that they didn't end up drafting him, because he could easily be a top 10 running back due to the system that Pete Carroll has created here in Seattle. But before we head on out of here, I just want to let you guys know that if you know that you're going to be sticking around all season for NFL DFS, then go ahead and grab our early bird Awesemo Plus NFL annual pass right now for 25% off using promo code BLITZ. There's a full season's worth of Awesemo Plus player projections, owner projections, top stacks, premium slack, and tons of other new additions we are adding on this season. As an added bonus, this also includes projections and updated depth charts all preseason long. That's promo code BLITZ, BLITS, for 25% off Awesemo Plus NFL Annual. Just click the link in the description of this video to activate. So make sure you guys check that out. I love you guys. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you guys have a great rest of your guys' day, and I'll see you beautiful bastards on the flippity flop on Sunday. Myself, there'll probably be other videos, though, this weekend. So I love you guys. Make sure that you stay safe. Hope you enjoy watching the preseason. I love you guys, as always. Goodbye.